Another question I've had here is, what medicines can you not take with Mounjaro or the GLP-1 medications? So there's not that many. As a general rule, these medications are suitable for quite a large array of patients and medical conditions. One of the key things is if you are on treatment for diabetes, so this generally here we're talking about, well, obviously type 1 diabetes, but type 2 adult onset diabetes, and you're taking either insulin or you're taking another form of oral medication for your diabetes that lowers glucose levels, then you usually cannot take these types of medication. Now, I say usually because sometimes if you're not on insulin but you're on a type of oral medication for your diabetes, sometimes there is a possibility to have a discussion around changing your diabetes medications to enable you to have this medication. But for a get-go, if you're taking something that might lower your glucose levels, taking these medications on top could risk lowering them a bit too much and making you unwell. So that's one of the reasons. One of the other things we also, of course, obviously if you're already taking a GLP-1, if you're taking a GLP-1 medication for diabetes, like for example, Ozempic, which is the diabetes version of Wegovy, then obviously you couldn't have the Wegovy on top. So you can't take those together. And there are some types of oral medications that need closer monitoring when you're on, and there's only a few when you're on these tablets, because again, as I've said, because it slows down how quickly the drugs move through your gastric system. If you're on a medication such as something like warfarin, which thins your blood and you need to keep the level, at a very narrow index, we generally say let whoever is providing you with that medication know, and just be closely monitored when you start the medication, just to make sure you're still absorbing enough and getting good levels. The other thing that we always talk about is the oral contraceptive. So if you're a female in your reproductive years and you're using the oral contraceptive, we say that each time you start a dose and go up a dose, to use additional contraception, just again because with that slowing down of absorption of the medication, there could be a small risk of it not being absorbed as properly, and therefore affecting your contraception. But otherwise, generally, there are only a few medications where you have an issue. Again, whether you come through to our service as an appointment or you complete our online request form, just let us know any medication that you're on. And if the doctors think actually you should just make sure that's monitored a bit more closely or whatever, then they'll absolutely have that dialogue with you and advise you.